How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of FSI's PGA DFS Pick Show. I'm your host, TK Nation 47, joined with John Cool 19. John, it is our last major of the year. A sad ending to major season. Well, I shouldn't say sad, a happy ending to major season. I'm sad that it's almost over. I really enjoy these events, and the Open Championship always reminds me that the end is near. But
Yes.
we have possibly the most anticipated Open Championship in our history, the 150th edition of the St. Andrews. You excited?
Yeah, the history lines up. The course is perfect. The field is excellent. We get to add Tiger into the mix. There's a lot to look forward to this week. I normally just don't care at all about the groupings, but the groupings this week kind of got me excited, a handful of them. And then the Live Tour guys, they just got absolutely mashed on again by the people who selected the groupings. They put your Patrick Reed in with guys, your DeChambeau in with golfers he doesn't want to play with. I mean, they just absolutely do not care about those guys. Gave them whatever worst Patrick Reed tee times they could, and sent them off on their way with two guys that they don't want to play with. So I absolutely love that. But the featured groupings and all that, it just looks way too exciting. I'll be glued to the TV here for the next handful of days.
Yes, I have been starting my awkward sleeping patterns, getting a little nap in after work so I can feel like a little extra to get to, maybe midnight and get ready for some of the coverage that comes up late. It's going to be a long 4 days of no sleep here for me. Usually how it goes here for the Open Championship. But all right, so we have St. Andrews, the old course, the most known course in all of golf, maybe outside of Augusta National, I would say, is this course. Everybody's used to it from their old Tiger Woods days, on the sticks. Everybody played the old course on Tiger Woods.
They did.
Well. Yep. All right. So for DraftKings purposes, for DFS, let's break this course down just a little bit. Tell us what to expect.
Sure. As you said, St. Andrews, this is in Fife, Scotland. Par 72, about a 7,300 yard course. The greens are really it's a mix of fescue, bent, and POA grass green. So kind of all over the place. You can probably toss out like your Bermuda grass putting stats and stuff, but really just kind of looking at overall putting when it comes to that. Course is a little bit different when it comes to the layout. There are only 2 par 5s and there are only 2 par 3s. So really, I'm kind of dropping both of those from my modeling this week and putting in par 4 scoring, which typically just kind of encapsulates in general how good a golfer is playing, similar to like tee to green. Just kind of a general stat, but putting a little weight on that this week. I'm not going to get too concerned with specific distances like from this range to that range on par 4s, because the tee boxes are going to move around quite a bit. And then the weather. We have to talk about weather when talking about St. Andrews. It can drastically change. It can make a 400-yard par 4 easily a 500-yard, or the other way around. It can have half the field driving the green if the wind is just right, or even down for that matter. Quite a few holes here you can actually drive the green. If there is no wind, this is a really scoreable course. You can see a lot of birdies, and you can also see a lot of bad holes. If you find especially the fairway bunkers, you're looking at a bogey at best. You really can't get out of there very easily. So we're going to see drastic scoring differences between the golfers who are on their game and then those who are not. But again, the wind is going to decide everything. Is this going to be an 18 under winner, or are we going to see a 4 under winner? That is all dictated by the wind. At this moment, it looks pretty nice. Overall, much better than kind of some past years, a lot better than last week. And I'm not really seeing a major wind advantage. We kind of worked in our Discord on Wednesday last week and really kind of thought we were going to see a wave advantage for those Thursday AM guys. And we got it big time. Over 3 strokes, insane advantage for us when it came to that. Didn't necessarily have the right mix of guys in my lines, but that was the right route. I would do it again 100 out of 100 times. We'll see this week if we get that bit of advantage. As far as other stats we're looking at, I do like ball striking this week, a little more heavy on the approach side of it, but then drive distance. That's going to be much more critical. The drive accuracy, these are huge, wide fairways, very, very wide, some of the biggest on tour and some of the biggest greens on tour as well. So lots of greens in regulation if there's no wind, tons of fairways made. So I'm looking more at drive distance, guys who are going to be able to go for it on these shorter par fours. And then just trying to hone in a little bit more on the approach game. Like I said about the hold distances, I'm not going to concern myself too much with proximity. Maybe putting in some wedge distance, 75 to 100 or 1 to 125. But really, there's going to be so much difference whether it's the wind or the tee boxes. Really tough to predict that this week versus some of our standard PGA Tour stops where everyone kind of falls in the same area. That's not going to be the case this week. So I'm tossing that out quite a bit. Birdies are better. I do want guys who are able to get up and make birdie on these easier holes. And then 3-putt avoidance. I think that is critical this week. I'm including quite a bit of putting stats, but more some obscure stuff. So 3-putt avoidance, the long-term on bent and POA, and then putting from over 25 feet. These are super big greens. We're going to see a lot of very, very long putts, probably like 50 plus foot putts, a ton of them this week. So guys who are going to be able to get it close on those, that's what I'm looking at there. So putting a bit heavier this week than I normally would. It's a links style course, so if you want to include some like links golf history, but that's about it for me. This is not a big stat model week for me. I would put a little more focus on current form. How have golfers done in past Open championships and really all the majors for that matter. That's where I'm going to put more focus this week than really trying to say, well, this stat model is going to predict the winner. I don't believe that.
Yep. I was just about to say this is not a model course for me. St. Andrews is its own element. It has its own elements. There's not a tree in sight. I mean, you're playing balls over hotels. There is not much like this. You have the road hole. 17, which is one of the most iconic holes. If you're done if you hit it right. So, or is it you hit it left? I can't remember, but there is just some incredible holes. Short par fours. Scoring on those par fours I think is critical. So I put a lot of emphasis, if I did in anything in the model, it's short game and putting. So I did strokes gained, short game, the 3-putt avoidance, and the putting from 25 plus feet, and then 5 to 10 feet, just to make sure, just to keep that influence in the model in case we do have a high scoring week. I tried to play factors for all, put in many factors for all outcomes. I do think distance is going to be pretty vital here, but I think realistically, all that matters to me is strokes gained off the tee. Are you going to gain strokes with the driver this week because of the different kind of par fours that we have going on? So strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained short game, and who can make sure that they don't putt, who cannot miss their third or their second putt. It's pretty remarkable, this kind of setup. It's going to be just like an oddball week. So this would be a very heavy week to get into the Discord chat. I suggest getting a look at the player pool. I think I'm going to spend a ton of time on my player pool this week. Because it's not going to be, the model favorites. It's going to be deep dives, and it's going to be guys that I have gut feelings on. It's going to be guys that I look up and find, some decent links history. So there's going to be a lot more emphasis on the player pool. That usually takes more time, which we have. So join us on our Discord. You can find that on our website, fsidfs.com, or on our Twitter handle, FSI_DFS. All right, let's get to the picks. What everybody wants to hear. I'm going to go with a fave. I'm going to go with a couple chalky guys to start. All right. I'm going to go with Cam Smith, 9,500. I expect a ton of ownership because of how elite he is with his short game. 10th at the Scottish Open last week. I think that only is going to increase that ownership. I think everyone feels pretty safe with Cam Smith. Performs really well at the Masters, another course that really puts an emphasis on that short game and the driving of the golf ball. Earlier in the year, he did drive the golf ball really well, but he struggled a little bit down the stretch. towards the end of the year with the driving, but that did look like it returned last week. I think he's pretty comfortable on golf courses like this. I think this kind of creativity that you have to have around the greens really suits Cam Smith. And I think he's going to flourish. 20th in 2019 at the Open, 33rd in 2021 at the Open. I know they weren't here, but I do like to look at crossover Open Championship history. As I mentioned, really good in the short game, 5th in the model, 4th in 3-putt avoidance, 3rd on the approach, which I thought was pretty surprising. So the irons are there. It looks like he's just not able to piece all of it together for 4 straight rounds. 24th in par 4s and 28th in bogey avoidance. So my thought here is if Cam puts it all together, he's going to be inside the top 10.
Sure. I think Cam's an excellent option there. I don't usually listen to a ton of the noise on Twitter, but one follow I do have is the Golf Tipster. It's really tracking golf tips within the Twitter community, who is picking who outright. And Cam Smith and another golfer who I believe is on the next slide are number 1 and 2 for the most tipped golfers this week for outright bets. So that doesn't necessarily dictate ownership on DFS, but people are thinking Cam can win. And I think they're right. I think Cam has a great chance of winning here this week. Who you're not going to see at the top, the tipsters, is somebody more like Xander Schauffele. 12-1 odds is not necessarily the best bet for an outright. Right. I would much rather play him in DFS this week. That's nothing against Cam Smith, but for me, Xander Schauffele, he was on this slide for me last week, came out with a big win, really kind of took the whole field by storm last week. So I guess it did get exciting down the stretch. But yeah, Xander Schauffele for me, 9,900 on DraftKings. The pricing is not accurate to the Vegas odds. That is because pricing came out way too soon for this event, which we all appreciate DraftKings doing. But yeah, he is second best odds to win. He is priced the 7th highest golfer. So right there's some value on him on DraftKings. He is the winner of back-to-back events. That's the Scottish Open and the Travelers, and then the Pro-Am that I spoke of last week as well. So his last 3 times going out on the course, all 3 of those, it resulted in him at first place for the event. He's an excellent links golfer looking back at the history. He's also played really well at the Open Championship. He's 4 of 4 made cuts, 20th, runner-up, 41st, and 26th are his 4 results. I would take that in a lot of cash lines if I could get up to paying for Xander here at this price. And this year's majors, he's done fine. 13th at the PGA, 14th at the US Open. He did miss the cut at the Masters. Little concerning because that's more of a comp course compared to the other 2 majors that they played this year. But the stat model, just like last week, it just loves him. He's number 1 in that 3-putt avoidance, number 2 opportunities gained, 4th on par 4 scoring. And if you kind of look at just the recent ball striking approach, tee to green, he's up at the top in all of those categories. So a lot to like here for Xander. The only question mark is if you're playing him on DraftKings, what is the ownership going to shake out to? Right now, he's looking about maybe the 5th highest owned golfer. I don't love that in GPPs, but certainly under 10K is an option in cash.
Yeah, definitely going to be some cash picks here. Xander's unstoppable right now. Just an incredible tee to green performance going on from Xander, and it's hard to think that it's not going to continue.
Right.
Really.
And he can putt. So he's great tee to green and he putts. What more do you want?
Right. Yeah, he's just a can't miss. All right, let's get into value. I'm going to go ahead and start us off with Tony Finau at 8,400. He's in some really good form. He's got some really good Open Championship history. Checks out in the model. I did say that it's not a heavy model week, but Finau was a guy that I did see to kind of reassure myself of what was I seeing was correct. 17th off the tee. I know he's got the distance to kind of overpower this course if he needs to. 7th on those par 4 scoring. 3rd in bogey avoidance. 7th in 3-putt avoidance, and he's 6th in putts over 25 plus feet. So he has a lot of good lag putting to his game. It's the short ones that Tony misses. So as long as he's not missing short ones for par or short, then he should be fine. Par probably not a bad score this week. So as long as the tee to green game stays intact, Tony Finau should do fairly well. He did have a 13th at the Travelers, and he's got 2 top 10s at the RBC Canadian Open, and the 4th at the Charles Schwab Challenge in his Open history, as I mentioned earlier. 15th, 3rd, 9th, 27th, and 18th. Must really love links golf. So Tony Finau, I think, is pretty strong at 8,400. A good cash block, and then I'm going to go ahead and get off my chalk here. I'm going to go with Adrian Meronk, 7,100, a bomber, big, tall Polish golfer here on the DP World Tour. Typically, this play, Meronk is always a 9K, 10K golfer on the DP World Tour. 151, pretty crazy number right there. Recent winner in Ireland. If you're feeling like you want a bomb to bet, I think Meronk's a pretty decent bet. He did follow up with 130th last week at the Scottish Open. It's usually because the general winner of the week prior, it's always hard to come back with the same fire and intensity in the next week. So I'm kind of throwing the Scottish Open aside, really focusing on what his form has been throughout the year. He's made 7 top 10s in his 15th starts on the DP World Tour. He's 5th on the DP World Tour in 3-putt avoidance, 2nd in driving, and 7th overall in putting. So he's doing a lot of the things that I'm mentioning with my other golfers. He's just doing it with the DP World Tour. I think Meronk. Oh, and he played a practice round with my boy Tiger today. My in-laws are over there in Scotland right now. I am super jealous. They got to watch Meronk play that practice round. So all of their good luck and fortune was watching Meronk play golf today. So I got a lot of cool reports from the big, tall Polish man. And now I'm going to throw him in the video and hope he performs well. So hopefully it's a fantastic Open that they get to see, and I'm super jealous.
Perfect. I like it. I played a lot of Meronk last week. Did not work out. He was on that correct wave. He is one of those guys who kind of messed up some of my really good lines that were stacked up on that wave. But again, I would do it again in a heartbeat. It was the right play for DFS. Tony Finau, he is your other golfer that is top 2 on that tips chart.
Wow.
Most tipped golfers this week. So certainly the outright bettors are hammering some Tony Finau right now. I think he is.
It'd be cool to see.
Yeah, I think he's pretty close to a lock for me in cash lineups. The price is right. The form is there. The long-term Open Championship and links golf history, everything points towards Tony having a good week at a great price. I like it a ton. So I'll be playing both of these guys in my lines. A couple guys I gravitated to. Joaquin Niemann, I played him a ton last week. It paid off pretty well. He was actually 8,600 in the pricing last week. The price has dropped by $600, even though he finished 16th place again. That was due to the prices coming out early. I would bet he would be more like, he'd be at least the 8,600, but probably creeping up 87, 8, 9 in the pricing. So maybe even a $900 discount on Joaquin Niemann this week versus what he should be. The 50-1 outright, as I think, is an okay bet. I would much rather bet just top 5 here for Joaquin Niemann this week. The majors this year, he was 35th at the Masters, 23rd at the PGA Championship, and 47th at the US Open. So didn't really pop anywhere, but at least he is making cuts, playing weekends in these very difficult, excellent field events. He ranks 3rd for me in shots gained in windy conditions, and we know that's going to play a factor this week. The recent ball striking has been really, really good as well. Tee to green also top 20 in both of those categories. The around the green game is good for him as well. He's 18th over his last 36 rounds. He just really is a very well-rounded golfer. He does everything pretty darn good. 18th in distance, and then looking at these greens, he putts really well on slow greens, and also he's top 25 in 3-putt avoidance. So really kind of checking all kinds of boxes for me. Joaquin Niemann, I think, is an excellent play, likely to find his way into a cash line for me. Another guy that ended up stumping me last week, he is a fan favorite, Mito Pereira, but he duped all of us last week. He was on the right side of the wave. He was T4 after day 1, and then he absolutely fell apart on Friday. He played like just garbage. So round 1, he was 10th on approach, 14th off the tee, and he was 4th in shots gained total. That's 5.99 strokes gained on the field. But on day 2, he lost 8.43 strokes to the field. He just got absolutely creamed. It was his worst around the greens recorded on my database, and the second worst off the tee of his career. So just absolute terrible numbers. This is an excellent ball striker. He will bounce back eventually here. He's actually on 3 straight missed cuts. And I really, really like that going into the Open Championship for one reason, and that is the ownership. People are not going to want to play Mito Pereira coming off of 3 straight missed cuts in your DFS GPP lineups. You need guys like this. They're going to hold this 7-8% ownership because nobody wants to play Mito after 3 missed cuts, but I'll be all over him. So 7,300, I think, is a great chance to be low owned, a good price, and then the stats and stuff back it up too. I know that the recent ball striking isn't going to be perfect after 3 straight missed cuts, but he's really good in windy conditions. He's 4th in opportunities gained in this field, top 50 in distance, plays well on par 4s, everything that we want there. And really, even with those struggles, the recent ball striking, he comes in 5th in this field over the last 12 rounds. And that's with 3 missed cuts over his last 3 events. So just really bad golf. He's still playing excellent ball striking tee to green. So I expect some good things here from Mito this week. A great bounce back opportunity if you're playing DFS GPP lineups. I would not be out there betting him in the outright market to win, but give me some DraftKings at 7,300. I like it a lot.
This is Team Chilean right here.
Oh, there we go. I didn't even think about that.
You got both
I should have had the flag on here instead of Neiman.
You should have, yeah. Just both value plays Chile today. I like it. I'm not sure if I'm there on Mito. A lot of things look broken, but I love your stance, man. You know what it reminds me of? A couple, I think last year I had this thing going with Scotty Scheffler. I couldn't get Scotty Scheffler right, and I was so infuriated that I would just say, I'm done. I'm not playing him again. Well, I played him at the Waste Management Open as my one and done, and I broke that curse. So hopefully down the line, you nail a one and done or an outright with Mito, and your relationship with him will be repaired.
Sure.
Keep going to the well.
I saw recently the 2 golfers who are the result for the most money brought in by Vegas this year. So basically outright bets who have lost. It's Mito and Will Zalatoris are your 2 most. Vegas loves these 2 golfers.
Yeah,
everyone wants to bet them. They all want to see these 2 guys win, and they keep coming up just short, especially Will Zalatoris. I will be playing some Will Zalatoris this week. He just crushes majors. Didn't find his way into the slides for me, but I love me some Willie Z. You know, in the Discord chat, we're always pumping up his tires quite a bit, probably more than they should. But this week, I will not lay off of that.
Yeah. Also, Ryan Fox down here, 7,100. I want to give him an honorable mention shout out. I think he'll be pretty popular too. There was someone else at 7,400. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Fox was like 8,500 or something last week. Is that right?
Yeah.
He dropped over $1,000 on DraftKings.
Right.
No reason.
Yeah. Seamus Power, another value play honorable mention I wanted to shout out, and Robert McIntyre at 78, another one for you. Just wanted to throw a couple of names into the mix. We got a major. I know there's a lot of players to play. So let's get into the sleepers of the week. I'm going to go with Alexander Bjork, 6,400. Definite long shot. I don't think has an outright, maybe if you wanted to go top 8 each way or top 5 each way, sure, you can cover yourself there with that outright bet. But Bjork has an elite short game, and he's a DP World Tour vet. So he's playing a lot of links golf over the course of his career. Not very well at the Open for that matter, but he does do pretty well in the Scottish Open weekend or year in and year out. 59th on the DP World Tour in approach, but he's 12th around the green, 13th in putting overall, and 4th in 3-putt avoidance. He showcased why he is a decent links golfer. 42nd last week. He just had a really bad Sunday. He was up inside that top 10 for most of the day. The 20th at the Irish Open, so he's performing well in both of these. In this on this island here, the UK. 9 of 13 cuts made this year, but only 1 top 10. So Definitely he's a cut maker, but some of that upside is limited. So play him in spurts, not too heavy on Bjork, but I think he's worthy of the player pool ad. Your thoughts on him and your sleeper of the week?
You know a lot more about Bjork than I would. I do not play very much DP World Tour on DraftKings. I like to poke around there maybe once in a while, but yeah, you would know much better than me. I went with a bit more of a PGA Tour name, but somebody that I couldn't tell you the last time I put Wyndham Clark in my player pool, but I'm going to be putting him in this week. And let me talk you into it here. At 6,600, he is 250 to 1 odds to win. I would not be picking him as an outright winner, but I think the 6,600 is reasonable here. He's made 4 out of his last 5 cuts. That includes 35th at the Travelers, 16th last week at the Scottish Open, and before that, 7th at the RBC Canadian. So good form coming in. He's made a cut in just one major in his lifetime. That was 2021 PGA Championship. So this will be his first Open Championship. Not much to speak of when it comes to the major success. But the reasons I am looking at him here, first of all, the distance. He's number 2 in the field driving distance. He's actually pretty darn good around the greens. When I kind of tweak my around the green numbers to look at really kind of short rough, this is way different than we were looking at like at the Travelers, RBC Canadian, that thick rough. That is not what they're dealing with this week. The rough is not that difficult. So I did around the greens with a short rough. He rates out well in that. And then the last reason that I'm playing Wyndham Clark is his putting stats. He's 3rd in the field for 3-putt avoidance, 14th in the field long-term on bent and POA grass greens. So a guy that can drive it way out there and then putt well. And every once in a while, he's pretty darn good chipping from these short roughs, which is pretty rare on tour to kind of get this set up. But I think it fits well for him. I think he's got a chance here to make a cut and make a little noise at 6,600. I would expect something like 2 to 5% ownership in the Millie Maker, maybe 2 or 3 ownership. If you're playing single entry, which is where I'll be focusing on, we're going to get like a 0.5% or 1% ownership on Wyndham Clark. And I will easily be overweight on 1%.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to get overweight on both of these players here, just a 10% share. Yeah, I'll add Wyndham to the player pool. I didn't realize some of that recent history that he played last week. And did know the Canadian Open. He was very live to win that event. He was in the mix, but Rory just too good that day. Really long bomber of the golf ball. Wanted to throw a quick shout out to Thomas Detry, Tristan Lawrence, and Tom Kim. Probably the talked up 6K play I've ever seen. 6,400 or 6,500 top 3 last week to qualify for the Open. Everybody's favorite right now. I'm sure Mayo's been pumping him up. He was on him last week. So I don't know. I think he's going to be in the player pool, but anytime you have a potential 20% 6K play, that's usually reasons not to play him.
It'd be an auto fade for me as much as I do like Kim this week. And I played him actually quite a bit last week. He fell into the right wave for me. He was one of my later on 6K ads. But yeah, I remember back when DraftKings had the wrong name on him for a while and no one could figure out who he was. But actually his form worldwide is really good. It's tough to ignore.
He's not bad.
The problem is he plays in junk fields.
Yeah.
But if he's consistently top 5 in junk fields, I mean, he's a good golfer. He proved it last week. I would be interested, probably more interested over on Yahoo, where almost nobody plays those min-priced guys. Usually there's 2 or 3 that garner all the ownership. He is just a tick above min price this week on that site. I'd be interested a little bit more playing him on Yahoo, but great poke to him. He's a good golfer that not enough people talk about, but if he's going to get that ownership, I'm going to stay way clear this week and be happy about it.
Yeah. It's much more, it's plus EV to get away from chalk guys down in the 6K range. If you play a chalk guy in the 8K range, that makes sense. You'll get different down in the 6K range, especially on a very difficult links golf course. All right, that'll wrap things up for the sleepers. We're going to the one and done slide. I don't know. Obviously a win could get me back into it. Only 18% of people have Rory McIlroy left on their one and done. I don't know if all 18 of us are waiting for the Open Championship or not. Possibly. But I'm going to be using Rory here as my one and done. I need a win. So Rory, bring me one home to get me into the cash, because or else I'm just going to be just staring at, another empty Fantasy National Golf Club one and done season. But your thoughts here and your one and done?
Yeah, I think great choice. Rory is one of the few stud golfers who actually took last week off. And based on Twitter, he spent the entire time hanging out and goofing around with Tiger Woods.
Yeah, pretty much.
That cannot be a bad thing at all. He's obviously going to be playing super loose at this moment going in. So I think it's great. John Rahm for me is the only stud I had left. I said that last week and put him on this slide. And then I decided last minute I didn't want to play John Rahm last week. So I went with Sam Burns. He finished a little bit worse than John Rahm. He had a terrible weekend. They both made the cut, but yeah, I would have been better off playing John Rahm, and I would be playing Sam Burns this week. I like him as an option too, but that's fine. We will we'll play John Rahm, see how it goes this week, and maybe one of us will pull a win out of these two guys.
Yeah, it doesn't go wrong playing a couple of the best players in the world.
True that.
All right. Well, that'll wrap things up, everyone. Thank you for listening in. You can follow me on Twitter at TKNation47. That is John Cool 19. You can follow us on our website at FSI, or on our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS, or on our website, FSIDFS.com. And comment below with any questions you may have. Join the Discord, and good luck this week, and enjoy the 150th Open Championship.
Sweet. Good luck.